Hello and welcome to AWS Made Easy. This is the show where we talk about all things AWS, about AI, about cost optimization, and we try to have guests from AWS on the show. Today, I think we've knocked out basically all of those three goals. My name's Stephen Barr.
Hi everyone, I'm Rahul Subramaniam, and we are so excited to have Basil on the show today. Basil, welcome once again.
Thank you
Really
so
awesome to
much.
have you here.
I'm
And
more
I think with
excited.
you on the show, we are
Yeah,
covering,
this is the
and with you on
second
the show, I
time,
think we're
so
covering
I'm excited
all
about
the
that.
time zones.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So we've got
yeah.
Stephen in Seattle, I am here in India, and you are live from Dubai. So this is
Actually,
going
I'm,
to
I'm
be a
I'm
really,
live
really
from
fun.
Cairo, Egypt this time because I had something here.
Oh,
So
Cairo, Egypt.
yeah,
How have you been and what's been happening?
yeah. So I think we were just talking about this briefly. I think there's something going on with the fabric of time because it just the days seem to, and the days and the weeks and the months now just seem to morph into something different. Things are moving so fast in the world of tech right now, as you know, which on one
Yeah.
hand is extremely exciting. Like just that every week there's something mind blowing new to play with. It becomes easier to build something that was very difficult just weeks ago. On the other hand, it's also, I understand that it could feel overwhelming for builders. So for us, trying to figure out how do we reduce complexity, how do we help kind of guide people and connect them between the tools and the solutions, and always like kind of cover what's the easiest and simplest path between the both these two things. That's the top priority, and that's what makes this a particularly interesting time for us in developer experience.
That's
Yeah,
really
I,
awesome.
I feel the same way, but it's not only using the tools that we have, but saying, am I using it the right way?
Mm.
Right? Am I did I miss the boat? Did everyone else get some other assumption than me?
Yeah.
I'm using this one MCP setup called Zen MCP,
Mm. Mm.
where you can I use it from Claude Code, but then it will start talking to Gemini and talking to anything on Open Router, and it
Yeah.
leads to a lot of token usage. But it's neat for getting different perspectives on code.
Yeah.
But, so you've been very busy since the last time we spoke. As principal tech evangelist at AWS, you've got some really cool projects going. I think we wanted to talk today about leapstacks.
Yes. Yeah. I think we mentioned it last time I was on, that this is something I was working on, and I have been working on it for a while. So the last time I was on, I think most of what we were talking about was in terms of simplifying, AWS in terms of like the messaging and the content, and helping kind of, reduce the complexity by just connecting the simple dots to get started and stuff. And then at some point I realized that, maybe I want to add a whole dimension, a new solution that goes with the content that could actually help reduce the number of steps of people launching things. And there was one particular incident that kind of put me on this path more than the others. I was doing a session at the University of AI in Abu Dhabi last year, and that was a like particularly significant milestone for me because when I first came to the UAE as part of an accelerator program in like 2018, one of the things that pulled me into this world and made me truly think about moving here is that they had a ministry of AI, and that they were
Yeah.
truly investing, and that they saw like where we are now. They saw it coming way before a lot of other countries. I would say most other countries, and to be able to deliver that session there about Amazon Bedrock and how to build Gen AI and stuff, that was really significant to me. But then the session went really, really well, and this session was for PhD students, machine learning students. So these are very, very sharp people, super smart, the sharpest tools in the shed, if you could say so. And after the session, we had a Q&A, and I remember a couple of them came up to me and they were like, this is really fascinating and super interesting, but we tried to set something up to kind of do a demo on AWS, and we got a bit confused. And that really
Mhm.
shocked me because if they're getting confused, then a lot of other people are getting confused. So I felt like, okay, maybe the efforts need to go a bit beyond just content. So I
Mhm.
started to work on this solution, which I'm called leapstacks. The idea behind it is I wanted to reduce the number of steps to create a generative AI prototype on AWS. Um, following that session and this kind of revelation, I started to dig into our getting started guides for generative AI, and I realized that most of them were like over 50 steps, and that's a lot of steps to just create a prototype, a full stack prototype. And then when you really look at them, you understand why. It's because AWS, there's so much power, there's so much great services that connect into each other, and you've got the possibilities of connecting these building blocks to create incredible things is unmatched. But if you're just getting started, that adds that layer of complexity to first understand how do you connect all of these things and all of the IAM stuff and all of the permissions and the requesting the model access and all of that. So I just wanted to remove that initial hurdle, and that's when I thought of leapstacks, and I wanted it to be a purely browser based solution. I didn't want there to be any prerequisites. This was one of the things that I was really hoping for. I didn't want you to need to install anything, because then we go into, well, what do you already have installed? Is it a Mac or a Windows? And then it becomes other layers of complexity, and I didn't want to try to solve one group of complex steps with another group of complex steps. So I finally, I settled on the idea of using a CloudFormation script to install an environment securely within your AWS account. And then within that environment, once you launch it, it helps guide you through the process of seeing what models that you have access to. And if you don't, shows you how to request and get the access to it. And then it dynamically loads these full stack prototypes that are other mammoth CloudFormation scripts that I've already created from the back end. And you could just launch them with one click. And when you launch it, a couple of things happen. One is that an auto delete timer or automatically starts. So even if you forget about it, it'll remove all of the resources. And the second thing is that you have these explainers that are helping you figure it out. If you don't really understand what is Lambda, how does it work with API gateway? Well, then what is Bedrock and how do they connect together? So it's like a hello world for these Gen AI prototypes. And then you can learn in reverse by actually experimenting with the moving pieces.
Sounds really exciting. Why don't we dive right in and take a look at how to get started and
how
does it all work?
Well, I'm going to put this on screen, and I want to share, because Basil, you're so good at this, I want to share the teaser video for this here. Now, this is, first of all, if you're not following you on LinkedIn, make sure to do that. Here is your teaser video for this.
Let me explain. AWS provides powerful resources to build generative AI applications. No doubt about it. But for many new builders, setting up Gen AI prototypes can feel daunting, and the documentation might feel a bit like a maze at first. So I created leapstacks, which installs into any AWS account securely with one click. It allows anyone to launch Gen AI prototypes on AWS in minutes. You can relax. This is a safe space. It includes micro-explainer videos built in so you never get stuck, prototypes auto self-destruct to prevent unwanted builds, you have live usage and ROI analytics, and even a link to Amazon QCLI so you can make changes to the prototypes with prompts. And best of all, it's open source and fully customizable. Click the link and let's build.
Okay, so that is leapstacks. I think you really did a great job with that prototype. And I love the setup of dealing with the PhD students, because having been an academic myself, often you're coming from this background, you need to get these papers published and your code needs to run once. But then how do you actually put it into production, and you're in a totally different world? So I love the setup. I love the premise. I love the idea of a self-destructing stack to keep the costs under control. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's take us through it, please.
All right, fantastic. I'll just share my screen. And when you can see it, let me know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it really all starts by going to leapstacks.dev. You're going to get this website. It's like you had seen earlier when you click, let's say you just want to kind of foresee the future before actually installing it to imagine what it is. You can click show me first, and it's going to literally be me guiding you on those first few steps of installing it. It's very, very easy.
Okay, now this is
but it'll just show you exactly what's going to happen, what I'm going to show you actually right now. When you actually want to deploy it, you just click deploy to AWS. You just need to make sure that you're already logged into your AWS account. Mm-hmm. And what that's going to do, it's going to open CloudFormation, and it's going to link it to the leapstacks installer script. right? And here, all you need to do is write any admin email and password. This doesn't need to be, of course, your AWS account at all. It could just, this is just to secure your LeapStacks environment. So it could be anything. The password just needs to be in the format here because it's going to use Cognito to secure it, and it needs it's a special format. So over 8 characters, upper, lowercase, you know how it is. And that's it. That's all you need to do. You just need to acknowledge that AWS CloudFormation is going to create IAM resources because that's part of what the stack does. And you're going to click create stack, and then it's just going to create the stack. And if you're that kind of person, you could just watch it creating and see what it's doing. But it takes under a minute to install the environment within your AWS account, and it's going to walk you through that process of seeing first what models you have access to, and then getting access to the models if you don't already have them. So let's say if it's a totally new AWS account, you won't have access to any models on Bedrock. And as you know, you need to have request access first, and then you could start using Bedrock and calling like the different APIs and stuff. And this was like that first kind of hurdle that some people have, is that they just didn't understand that they first need to request access. So this kind of manages that process. And then once you do have access, it'll load the prototypes, and then it's going to help you to just explore them, and you get it immediately. You have the front end, you have the back end, and things like that. This should just take about 20 or 30 other seconds to install. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the really important requirements that I had for this is that it's browser based. I just wanted something where you can just go directly into it. You don't need to install. You don't need to have certain prerequisites. It just installs securely, and then auto deletes. And see, the stack is already done. So here we're just going to go to outputs. There's just one link to click, just for simplicity, which is the link to your secure environment. You're going to enter whatever is the email and the password that you entered during the stack sign up. So here the LeapStacks is loading the first time. It's getting all of the resources and the assets and installing them into your environment from a backend database and from a GitHub repository. Once it's loaded, this is what the LeapStacks environment looks like. So like I mentioned, if let's say this is a totally new AWS account, or you don't have any models enabled, the first thing that's going to happen is that this pop-up is going to come up, and it's going to tell you, look, you don't have any models enabled. You need to enable at least one so that you could start experimenting with these prototypes. And then, if you click the link, it'll take you into the model access page so that you could request the access to any kind of model that is one of the ones that is supported within LeapStacks. And as you know, this is just a small subset of models on Bedrock, but I just wanted to keep it limited so that people kind of don't get lost in all. Like, these are all of the models that are on Bedrock.
Yeah.
All you need to do.
We should add the Cloud Force sonnet definitely in here.
Of course. So the reason why I didn't add the newer models is that they require the inference profiles, and that requires extra steps. True. So I just add these for you to experiment with, and then in the future versions, I'm going to be adding this inference profile. So I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible because these don't have the inference profiles. So when you don't have access, it's really as easy as clicking the request model access, and then you submit, and then usually just like within a few seconds or a minute or two, you'll come back here, you'll click refresh, and then it'll show you the access that you have. So there's a couple of elements here that I wanna talk about. First one is this auto destroy element. It's happened to me, and I know it's happened to so many other people that, you spin something up, you get excited about it, and then you get a phone call and you walk away, and then you forget and move on with your day, and then you get an email at the end of the month, and then you get a heart attack, So I wanted people to kind of like just not be worried about that happening at all, even if you forget and you get distracted. When you have the auto destroy on, which it's on by default, any prototype that launches immediately after it launches, there's going to be a 2-hour timer, after which, whether you're still on the website or you've gone to do something else or you've closed everything, it's going to, from the back end, automatically delete all of that stack that's been created with all of the resources. So you don't have to worry about that kind of a thing.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it because it is. I mean, sometimes our focus is gone, right? And you don't want to be in that situation. I just want people to not be worried about that kind of thing happening, especially if you're learning and experimenting. You know, of course, like
Yeah.
once you do get comfortable with this environment and you're actually going to start to modify and build upon the prototypes, then you just remove the auto destroy, and then then it becomes an application that you're actually building out, and you're more comfortable with that. One of the things that I wanted to embed within this environment is I wanted it to be also kind of like a guided learning experience, right? So I wanted it to be very much video based. So it could work for someone who knows about AWS, but they just want a quicker way to launch these Gen AI prototypes. But also, let's say you're totally new to AWS. I wanted this to also be a way to kind of explain those basic concepts. So other than the welcome video that you had already played a bit
Hi,
of,
welcome
where I
to the
just
generative AI
explain
prototyping
the environment.
You can relax. This is a safe space.
It is indeed a safe space, like I said, because of the auto destroy and stuff. But also any clickable term. So let's say you don't really understand what Lambda is, you can click Lambda.
AWS Lambda. Lambda is code that runs on demand. It's called serverless, not because there are no servers, but because you don't have to worry about them.
So I created also these kind of 30-second micro explainers for what these terms are, just in a very, very simple way. And then beneath it is more of a detailed explanation. And then if you want to dive into the actual documentation of Lambda, then you can do that, But I didn't want to just throw people at that documentation. I wanted to give them the very high level explainers, and that's the same with every part of the solution wherever you go. Now, any models that you have already enabled from here will show up now in this drop-down list. So you could choose which model that you want to use for the particular prototype. And most prototypes launch like in a couple of minutes. So this basic generative AI chatbot, it launches in just under a minute. I think the longest one is 7 minutes for the knowledge base, which is an agent that uses an open search serverless for the knowledge base. So that takes a bit of time to set up that collection and have everything running. And then the third prototype is a chatbot, but this one is connected with the internet, so it can actually browse and view websites, and it doesn't just scrape the websites. In terms of the HTML, I use a headless browser to take snapshots of the website so that you could ask it questions about how it looks. And this has a couple of interesting applications that people can play around with, is because you could also now monitor a website for a certain change. So you could have a URL, and you could say, tell me when the price of this product changes, or tell me when my competitors add a new feature to their features page. For example, and because it's not parsing the HTML, the style and the colors and the situation of like how it's displayed can change, and you don't need to like change regular expressions, and how you'd usually monitor a website, because it's viewing a screenshot and then it's analyzing it using a multimodal LLM. So these are kind of like those initial 3 generative AI prototypes that I have in what I call kind of the starter pack for leapstacks, which is really just this is the prototype also of leapstacks. This is the environment I've created, and these are the sample prototypes with their explainers. But the big vision, I'll tell you the big vision as I'm launching this first prototype, just so.
Prototype 1.
By the way, as you're launching,
this sets up the simplest generative AI
well.
prototype on AWS. It creates a front-end HTML file, which sends a message from the chat, which triggers a serverless function on the back end, which sends the prompt to an LLM and returns the result. Boom, that's it. All the necessary permissions and roles have already been created for you, so it works out of the box. Explore the sections below to learn more about the services used, how to customize it or plug it into your existing application, which is now easier than ever with Amazon QCLI. One click connects your prototype, and then you can make live changes just using prompts. Happy building.
So every prototype has its own also explainer video that tells you, what's happening there. So I mentioned a little bit about what this is. The big vision of this is that this is an environment for all technical creators on AWS, both internally within AWS and within the community, to build their own stacks on Leapstack and then submit it, and then it becomes an official part of Leapstacks. And currently I had shared this internally, and we have over 100 developer advocates, solutions architect, technical account managers, and then members also of the AWS user group communities and heroes who are signed up to be part of the next version of Leapstacks, which will include all of the other prototypes that people have created. So can you imagine there's going to be prototypes for different verticals, maybe things that even don't have anything to do with the generative AI, different kinds of things that are more to do with analytics stacks, or things to do with fintech stacks, or a startup MVP stack, for example. And every stack can potentially have the videos from that creator guiding people along. So that's my vision for this environment. Before walking you through this first prototype and what it's created, let's pause here, and I want to know, what do you think?
This actually looks awesome. So I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Question number one is, where does the code reside? So when we are talking about modifying the code and stuff like that, is it in code build? Can I put it in my GitHub repository? What is it that I'm actually modifying, and where is it? Where is it generating the code and putting it before putting it into deploy?
Yeah, that's a good question. So because each one of these prototypes is its own stack, all of the code it deploys is within your account. And then when you click how it works, it actually shows you then where is the code, right? So if you want to go directly into the backend code of this basic GenAI chatbot, you just click the Lambda function under it, and it's going to take you to that backend chatbot code function so that you can actually see and then modify how it interacts with Bedrock. You can modify the system prompt and things like this. So this goes directly into that code in the back end. And then if you want to then, let's say, dive into the front end and modify it, you could just go to the S3 bucket where it's an HTML page and then modify that front end code as well.
Got it.
So this is...
That looks...
sorry, can you say that again?
I said that looks relatively straightforward to modify.
And it looks so safe. Like you'd want everyone to launch AWS stuff in this context with this. I mean, just the self-destruct feature is such a good way to get started, right? Because otherwise you find out a lot later.
Yeah. I just wanted it to be kind of like I said in the welcome video, a safe space, both from like the worry of like maybe there's going to be some costs or resources that I forget about, and will I be able to kind of like clean up after myself, so you don't need to worry about that, but also a safe space from the sense that I'm trying to simplify things as much as possible by removing anything unnecessary. Like even like just this front end, I'm trying to simplify it so much. I'm not trying to add too many elements that's going to kind of like cause confusion. And I'm trying to also explain things as we go along at every level. So this is why, when it first launches, the main link that you have is the chatbot. So you're going to click on it. You're just going to start chatting. Just make sure that it's connected correctly and that it's answering your questions and things like that. Then when you want to go into the lower layer, like, okay, so how does this work on AWS? Then it shows you kind of like what are the services that have been created. And then it also explains, just in words, like what's happening in the relationship with them. And then when you click on the services, so let's say like API Gateway, what's that? Click on it.
API Gateway.
It shows
API
the video.
Gateway is how you make your app accessible over the internet. It's a front door to your backend, securely handling
and
the
also
HTTPS,
trying to just
throttling.
explain it in the simplest possible terms. And then once now you've experimented with it, and then you've kind of gone into that slightly lower level of understanding, okay, so here's the resources that have been created on AWS to make that page work. And then you can start going into, okay, so then what are the next steps? Like, give me something to do so I can kind of wrap my mind around this. And then, so the first thing is like, you can modify the system prompt. So it says, click on Lambda, you go to a certain comment to be able to see the system prompt, change it, deploy changes, and then retest the chatbot. So now you've understood, okay, so from the back end, I have the prompt here. This is what I pass into the Bedrock, Converse API, and then this is how I can change it, and then kind of add that context to my generative AI application. Okay, cool. But then what's the next step? Okay, now I want to look at the front end, for example. Let's say I already have an application, and I just want to take that API access code, because for every generative AI application, it also creates a full API key, which incidentally, they released API keys for Bedrock. I'm sure you know about that just a couple of days ago. Before that, there was no instant API keys as well. So this is just something it gives you right away if you want to take that code which connects to your now functional and secure Lambda generative AI backend into your application to just have that connection right there. And then another thing also that I wanted to add to the system, and it's in every single prototype, is the usage metrics. So as you're using the prototype, you're able to track the metrics of that prototype. So the number of messages, how much it's costing, the time it's taking. And this is really, this is useful to know the costs, number one. But the second thing is that once you also start logging using the system, because now it adds, a DynamoDB database, a way to send events to it, you're able to also now track events within your prototype that can track ROI. So you're able to, for example, add a function to rate the quality of an answer or the user experience that you may send to your user. And then you're able to track the ROI of this prototype and then build out that ROI system live, and then see actually is it solving the problem for an end user or not. And then the other thing that I think it was mentioned in the prototype video, and this is something that it took me a while to make sure that it gels correctly, but it was very important, is that it links also to Amazon QCLI. So Amazon QCLI, I'm sure. It's really such an incredible local agent that runs right from the command line, and it's so effective at solving complex tasks, but also doing things on AWS and debugging things and making changes live. And it's really changed the way I even deploy things on AWS, because it's able to connect to your AWS account. So what this does is it generates a script where you can run it locally, and it will open up Amazon Q and directly link it to that prototype. So then you're able to make changes to that, let's say the front end live, just in using natural language.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. I mean, this is another way, because I mean, some people are going to be, very technical. There might be a lot of full stack developers using this that are very comfortable to go into the back end and change things, or go into the front end and change things. But a developer or an IT person, or even a technical account manager, might be coming from different areas, might not be so comfortable just diving into code, and they just want to make changes to this prototype to then send it to a prospective client or to an end user within their company, just to try things out without being able to actually dig into code. So connecting it to QCLI and then just telling it, make this front end, more modern, add a navigation bar or add a security page, for example, with a password. You're able to do that with natural language using QCLI. So that's a very important thing that I wanted to give people, to be able to modify it also using English.
I mean, this solves such a huge problem, which is when you're in the management console and it's designed, you can manage, an enterprise in there, but then how do you make that also work for getting started? And I know Raul and I have tried to follow these tutorials where, step 7 is set up IAM identity center. And that's like, wait, we need to make our account an organization. And before you know it, you're hours deep and you've got nowhere.
Yeah.
And we're experienced.
Exactly. Exactly. I myself, often, when I'm going through a certain process on AWS, sometimes I'll just forget a step in the middle, and then I can kind of maybe get lost for a bit. So I just wanted that entry point to generative AI on AWS to be as smooth as possible. Because truly getting past that learning curve and just getting to something that's working, that you could modify easily, is really incredible. Like the amounts of things that you could then build on AWS and then scale out, and not worry about scaling. Worrying about scaling generative AI or scaling AI in general is a problem that developers now don't have. Like when I was building my ML system in production 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was a nightmare. The costs to keep something live in inference, in a production cloud, and worry about scaling out and scaling in and stuff, it would keep me up at night. The fact that people don't have that problem is incredible, and they could just customize prompts or add a knowledge base, or give some steps to an agent. They could have MCP servers that now connect to their other systems. It's really the possibilities are endless. I just wanted to get more people to that exciting stage of actually building.
Yeah, I think once a user sees something built and they know that they did it and they can modify it, customize it, I think that unlocks so many more potential areas to go explore.
Yes.
And on the contrary, if you get stuck at the very first step and you're just trying to get past a very basic fundamental setup, you kind of lose interest and you're like, this
Yeah.
is just too hard. And then you kind of give
Right.
up completely. So I
Yes.
completely see the value of getting started and building something that's deployed in a matter of minutes, and you can modify it and you see the potential of where this stuff could. I have a
I
follow up
agree with that.
question for you.
Yeah.
Why can't we build a whole lot of things in this manner where we
Mm.
make it really easy, but then you let somebody take this off and then go customize everything else they want with it? Like I can think of hundreds of solutions like this, which are really straightforward. They might start off as a prototype, but they're not that far away from potentially being a production system. Like once you built a rag, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you built a very basic rag, but let's say
Yeah.
a rag that needs to hold, $100,000 isn't that far from a basic rag.
No. Yeah. Yeah. That's very, very true. That's why, like, starting from this with something that works and you understand the moving parts, and then it's just about making it production ready or customizing the user experience for a certain user. That's the fun part. That's the part where it's like really exciting. It's about innovation and making sure you're solving a problem. Yeah. Like I said, I just wanted to get more people to that area. And really, for me, this is an experiment as much as anything else. I want to see how people are going to be using it. I have so many different personas interested to make customizations, and that's making me
Mhm.
excited to see, like, what are they going to do using this. This is like everything that I've just showed you is just a proof of concept of what this thing can be. I'm actually really excited to see what now do different kind of people in different verticals and different teams make of it.
Yeah, I'm sure this is going to have tremendous demand from people who are trying to put in their templates of
Yeah.
easy startup applications.
Mm.
I think the one thing to just be a little cautious about is how do you make it non-overwhelming when you have 500 to 1,000 of these
Yeah.
applications that land up on your startup
Yeah, it's
stack.
definitely it's definitely not
Uh,
just going to be like 1,000 stacks showing you up at first. It's going to be that starter stack, and then you can kind of like go into the categories if you want to go to an advanced mode.
yeah,
Like if you're going to like different verticals. But yeah, that's absolutely true. And so I'll add another challenge. Other than that, is making sure that it's maintainable in a way that's effective. Because things break
right,
over time. So one of the
right.
things that I've inbuilt into the system is analytics that track events and usage and make sure that if something breaks, we know and we're triggered and it's adjusted right away, so it doesn't just stay there and keep breaking for people, which is one of the drawbacks of, like, I sometimes I got asked early on in the project, what's the difference between just giving someone a cloud formation stack? But if a
Mhm.
stack breaks at some point, that's it. It's just a script that's breaking. But because this is within
Right.
a controlled environment that's tracking these things and making sure everything's running smoothly, we can fix things in the back end, and then you fix the stack, and then the next time someone loads it, it's working.
Got it.
I can see a huge usage for workshops because,
Mm.
and again, I've been to lots of AWS workshops where it's 2 or 3 hours, but then the setup time is huge because they
Yeah.
give you a temporary credentials to a management console, and then you follow these 18 steps, and then all of a sudden you're ready to hit the core of the workshop,
Yeah.
and it feels like a lot of that didn't really need to be there. And it's neat that you kind of get the walkthrough of, okay, how do I set up all this stuff in the management console?
Yeah.
But you kind of just want to get to the core of the workshop.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. I'm really glad that you both see value in it, and I'm excited to like see when you guys try it out. Let me know what you think, and when you're ready to add the Cloud Fix stack to Leap, we'd be honored.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome because for someone to try out, a few simple cost optimization fixes, try it
Mm.
out, look at the
Yeah.
recommendations,
Yeah.
that I think would be incredibly valuable for someone to play around and
Yeah.
figure out how it
We'd
works.
love to. We'd love to. We'd love to.
It is, I'm still thinking a lot about that auto delete. So I guess is the Leap stack itself is having a registry of all of the different cloud from it, all of the Leap stacks that it's launched, right? And
Yeah.
then it knows how to tear them down and I guess, do the CloudFormation delete and watch that, make sure it happened correctly.
Yeah, I mean, with the auto delete, really, if that functionality is turned on, then as soon as the prototype launches, it sets a timed step function right away. So whether you have the page on or off, it will trigger that delete stack, and then everything gets nuked.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I could see, part of at CloudFix, we had and I'll change some names to protect the innocent. Well, I guess someone was deploying a backup solution, and this was someone else's account, and we noticed that the vendor who had deployed this backup solution left a lot of stuff behind in their POC. The particular customer, I think, didn't choose to go with the POC, and so they just left. And all this stuff was there, and they wouldn't have noticed, and it would have been like $50,000 a year.
Yeah,
in this mess from this POC.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Being able to say, "Hey, look,"
that as well, because it's just a bad experience, and nobody wants a bad experience.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And the person who gets blamed is AWS, because the AWS bill is really high. Yeah. And even if they didn't have some good tagging in place, they wouldn't have even known that this is what caused this.
Yeah.
And so if I was a POC vendor, I'd like to say, hey, look, this thing has its own self-destruct. Whether you like us or not, within 30 days, it's gone, unless you want to sign the paper. Yeah. I would love to do that, just to say, look, we're going to clean up after ourselves, so there's no surprises.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Right. Yeah, actually, I think that's the one feature that I think every POC should have baked in. And it's relatively easy to do. You just set up a CloudWatch timer and let it shut down.
Right.
Automatically.
Yeah. Yes. Great. I'm glad you guys like it, and please try it out, and also anyone who's watching, try it out and reach out to me, please, on LinkedIn if you have any comments. This is, at the end of the day, also a POC. If you think it can improve in any way, if you want to add your own stacks, please reach out. The next versions are going to have all the new stacks by the different members of the AWS community. So we'd love to have as much of a diverse set of new stacks, and by also new creators explaining things in ways. And also because it's all different kinds of creators, we're going to have different languages. So we're going to have stacks in Arabic, stacks in Japanese, stacks in Spanish, explaining to different people around the world in the languages they prefer.
That's
looking forward to seeing how it grows. Okay, so you're the point of contact on your LinkedIn.
Yes,
is the best way to get started for now. Plus leapstacks.dev. Okay, cool.
Is that also where? Sorry, just one other question. Is that also where the users can make requests for specific stacks that they've struggled with? Would that be a good place to write to you about?
I'm going to open up a special kind of channel for that. But until then, LinkedIn would be the easiest way to reach.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, something like a Discord or a Slack group or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Basil, for putting this thing together. I think it's going to be incredible for anyone who's trying to get started. And like we say, we really want to promote stuff that makes AWS easy. That's literally the title of our program and our show. So we love solutions like this that really simplify things for people. They get them excited about a particular technology by just getting them started, getting them using the thing. And then, you can start exploring how to figure this out. So kudos to you for building this all out. Please do let us know how we can support you with this. We would love to contribute. We'd love to help with this. And we look forward to seeing how the audience is going to make use of this as well.
Yeah, me too. And thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Some tools just find AWS cost savings and make you do all the work. Visualizing cost opportunities is great, but that's not enough. CloudFix, on the other hand, actually delivers those savings for you. And you don't need to worry, because CloudFix uses AWS recommended savings techniques. It fixes, not just finds. It's the easiest way to save money on AWS. It's 100% automatic and risk-free. And the best part of all, it works non-stop. Stop overspending on AWS and click on the link to start saving now.
Another week, another CloudFix Finder fixer.
This one is an easy one.
RDS, IO1, IO2 to GP3 volumes. What I really like about this Finder fixer is building on existing expertise.
You have a finder that goes and finds all the instances where you can switch to a much more cost-effective option.
We'll look at CloudWatch metrics, we'll look at the performance of the drive. If you're not really working it that hard, then why pay that price? Now, the innovation this week, we can do that for RDS volumes.
I completely understand production workloads. You want to optimize production workloads as much as possible.
When you need that blazing fast throughput, very low latency.
Makes sense. In dev environments, absolutely doesn't. Developers deploy IO1 and IO2 volumes with their RDS instances. When was the last time you really pushed the limits of an IO1 or IO2 volume to that level of throughput on a dev instance when you're doing a bug fix? I don't see that happening. About the difference between sub-millisecond and about a millisecond, right?
The equivalent of a Ferrari versus a minivan.
What's the retail on one of those?
More than you can afford, pal. Ferrari.
You don't want to be using this. It's an order of magnitude more expensive.
In terms of counts, you typically find dev and staging contributing to about 80% of the database instances within an organization. Production only accounts for about 20% of the number of instances. They are larger, they are bigger, they are more expensive. But in terms of count, dev and staging dominate.
Yeah, because there's UAT, test, staging.
For every one database in production, you probably have 10 databases in other environments that don't need remotely as much throughput or latency as what you have in production.
It's fun to use the fastest thing. It's not fun to pay for it. You want to make sure that you're only paying for it if you really need it. For those situations where you don't, where you'd be better served with something that costs, like I said, a tenth the price, take that option. And with CloudFix, with this new Finder fixer, we will make it easy. It detects it, and then you just need to click that execute button. You're good to go.
I am really excited about this.
If you want to free up that budget, what better way to do it than to not pay for over-provisioned EBS volume?
There are better places to spend money if you absolutely want to spend money.
Go play with SageMaker, go play with Bedrock, add AI to whatever you're doing. That's a really fun use of that funds.
If you're running out of ideas, join our other live stream where we talk about AI ideas that we've been implementing with Bedrock and other tools. We have a lot of amazing stuff planned out for the next few weeks, so stay tuned.